everybody. So I've been getting a lot of questions about just people wanting more information about these 4 agreements sigils that I created for myself they're not tattooed on my fingers yet, but I'm hoping to get them tattooed on my fingers very, very soon because I'm really in love with the way they feel. I just keep drawing them on there because I really want to carry the reminders of the agreements around with me. And for those of you who are not familiar with the 4 agreements, they are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. They come from this book right here, which is called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it's a really good book. It's about why these 4 agreements are important and how they will change your life. I only just read the book, but the actual 4 agreements are like they and their short descriptions are on the flap, and they're like all over the internet. Like literally every juice land in Austin has the 4 agreements posted in their window. Like if you walk around in any even mildly spiritually oriented community, you're gonna come across these 4 agreements. And I have come across these 4 agreements and been kind of studying them and contemplating them, meditating on them, thinking about them, and trying to implement them into my life. And that's just something that I always try to do. And I actually found, like, over the last couple months, I'd be like, yeah, the 4 agreements: be impeccable with your word, always do your best, and there's 2 more, and then there's 2 more, and then there's 2 more. And like that's what I would get like. And I think probably I can remember the 4 of them, but still, I didn't want to ever be in a position where I couldn't remember the 4, and I didn't want to ever be in a position where I had an excuse to not be thinking about them. So I want them here on my person all the time. And the thought that I wanted them on my person all the time, and oh, maybe I should design a sigil or something for each one, was something that I had actually right as I was reading the introduction to this on the plane. So before I even actually read the book, I designed the sigils, but then I read the book, and again, like, I feel like they're still very aligned, and I thought I would just explain to you a little bit about the designs that I designed for each one. I brought my little notebook that I had with me on the plane, and here, like, this is some of my process that I was going through, where I was picking out runes and symbols that felt right for each of the agreements. And so I thought I'd go through and explain a little bit about what each symbol is made up of. So this one is the be impeccable with your word one, and actually you'll notice 3 of these sigils have the rune Tiwaz in it, which, let me get a pen. This is Tiwaz, maybe. Tiwaz is our friend, and Tiwaz looks kind of like an upright arrow, and Tiwaz is the rune, it's the T rune, but it's like the world column, and it's the column that holds up it's kind of like the thing that maintains the structure of the universe, and that holds all the layers apart from each other, and also that like upholds order, and therefore that upholds justice. And it's the rune of Tyr, who's kind of a god of law. And so I associate Tiwaz with like upholding the good, and upholding order, and upholding justice, upholding the law and righteousness, and the truth also. And I associate it with the truth, not only because I think the truth is very closely tied to righteousness and the law and order and everything, but also because T is the sound is the sound of Tiwaz, and is also the initial of truth. And so I feel like that's a very organic pairing there. And so to be impeccable with your word, I'll read what the flap says. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. So that's what Don Miguel Ruiz has to say about being impeccable with your word. So this sigil is made up of kind of 3 runes, kind of 4 runes. Kind of 3 runes, kind of 4 runes, we'll see. The next rune that I want to mention is in here twice, and again, once it's facing one way, once it's facing the other. In runes, Merkstave, like if the rune is the right way but then upside down, like that counts for something as kind of reversed sometimes. but if it's just backwards or forwards, like, people wrote in runes both directions and in mirror writing, whatever, like, there's historical precedent for that, and it doesn't necessarily mean anything. This rune that I'm drawing right now is called Ansuz, and it's the word, and this is actually in the book. I'll find the quote. Where is it? In the beginning, and this is from a different book, but in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word is God. Through the Word, and this is Don Miguel's words, through the Word you express your creative power. It is through the Word that you manifest everything. And so, Ansuz is like the Word, but it's that which flows through you. It's a rune of Odin because it's a rune of articulation and of speaking things into being, and whether that's just speaking words into being or speaking things into being through your words, it's kind of the same thing. It's pretty much the same thing. There's not really any separation between the speaking and the creating in rune magic or in reality, because like that part of rune magic is just a reflection of reality. And Don Miguel Ruiz says the same thing in the Four Agreements. And so the word is the kind of the material that being impeccable with your word is made up of, and then Tiwaz is like the being impeccable part of it, and the being committed to the truth and to the good and to the righteousness part of it. And then also we have two other runes that are kind of a little bit hidden or created, not hidden exactly. So Gebo is just an X, and it's a rune of exchange, so like this for that. And so usually we talk about it in terms of gifting, like I give you this, you give me that, or I give and I receive, I give, you give. But I think there's anything where there's an element of reciprocity, Gebo is in effect, essentially. And so when you're being impeccable with your word, what that means is that your word is matching the truth. Your word is matching your reality. Your word is matching your intentions. And so there's always something in material reality that's matching the word if you're being impeccable with your word. And that's why I chose to include Gebo. Also, and this is what I say when I say kind of for, because you don't have to read this as though Hagalaz is there. And there's two forms of Hagalaz. Hagalaz, this form, that kind of looks like an H, which I actually don't fully understand yet. And then there's this form, which is sometimes recognized as a form of Hagalaz, and I think maybe sometimes it has another name. But this is what I call the snowflake, and what I've heard called the snowflake form of Hagalaz. And it is representative of the very beginnings of the creation of the universe, and therefore kind of like the very beginnings of the creation of anything. And I feel like it's a very strong manifestation rune. It's the something that comes from apparently nothing, or the something that comes from a tiny spark. And it's this reminder to me that while our word might seem like a tiny spark, it might feel like we're saying something in the moment that doesn't really matter, that doesn't really have any effect, but it has the potential to have great effects, and our words create universes. And, in the beginning was the word. And so that is the first agreement, and that is the one that I am wearing on my first finger. And again, it's primarily made up of the snowflake form of Hagalaz, Gebo, Tiwaz, and 2 crossed Ansuzes. And that's that. Again, also, I said this in my original post, but if these sigils resonate with you, like, I don't have creative ownership of the 4 agreements. I don't want creative ownership of the 4 agreements. Like, I want everybody to have access to these things. And, if basically what I'm trying to say is if these sigils or bindrunes or whatever you want to call them resonate with you and you think that they would be helpful for you, please feel free to use any of them. I'm thinking I might have to do this as 4 separate videos, so we'll call that the Be Impeccable with Your Word video, and then I'll have 3 more short videos up for these other 3 sigils. If you do employ these, though, please just, post it on Instagram and tag me and let me know, because I want to see, and I always love seeing what my magic and the things that I create go out to do in the world, and, kind of like that snowflake. I feel like this is just a little thing for me that I created for myself, but, if it goes out in the world and does good, I want to know about it, because I think that's a beautiful thing. So, I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.